A very, very, very good morning to all of you and a very warm welcome to today's class. This is class 4th of capital gains. We'll be discussing how to compute the capital gains, what is the cost of acquisition, what is the cost of improvement, cost of acquisitions in certain cases. We did exceptions to the general rule of fear of taxability. I hope up till now everyone has the clarity on computation part. I hope you have done the questions. I hope you have read the chapter up till where we have covered the topics and also the assignments which were uploaded on your portal. So to begin, we'll wait for 1 and 2 minutes. I can take your queries meanwhile if you have any, and then we'll start for the topic. Okay. Akashni asked, ma'am, why car illustration 2 में why car has been treated as personal asset and not a capital asset? Does it fall under personal effects? Yes, Akash. Personal, see, capital assets को define करने के लिए पहले सब कुछ आप capital asset मान लो, okay? And then जो movable properties है ना, उसमें से personal effect वाला item हट जाएगा. Whatsoever is a movable property, from that the personal effect wala item would be separated. And personal effect means whatever is used for personal purpose, like mobile phone, cars, any iPad, laptops, all of these things. Okay? Any other query? Very good question. I was just hoping that who would ask this Memon in case the individual and HF transfer is shared in the project on or before the date of issue or completion of certificate, then what? I specifically did not take that particular part on that day so that it first you get used to the normal provision of section 45(5)(a) and then I would have taken this part. I'll just take no worries. Demerger amalgamation last class में बोला था इस class में start करेंगे. In fact, today's starting would be from that only. So today would be comprising of small independent topics, beginning from amalgamation and demerger. उनके case में cost of acquisition क्या होता है, transfer कैसे taxable होता है, shareholders को क्या impact पड़ता है, what is the impact on shareholders, what is the impact on the amalgamated company, ESOPs we'll do section 50, depreciable assets का section 50B, section 50C, section 51, and if the time is left, we'll start with the exemptions. So everyone is all clear on the queries? It believes so, and it is a good sign though, but yeah. Hope everyone settled in. So start करें फिर आज का class. Great. Okay, Surya, I got your point also. So Memon, Rafiq Bhai and Surya, your queries both are pending. I'll be taking it. Okay? I hope you did your assignments which were given to you. कुछ उसमें confusion तो नहीं है किसी को? Okay. Yes, Pooja, definitely a full-fledged question would also be solved because abhi everything we were doing is an independent and related provisions. Full-fledged question ko bhi will also take. Okay? So everyone on the screen, please now. So, जिन लोगों ने those who have studied the provision of section 45(5)(a), they must have got one. Yes, doing it. They must have got one query. If not, then maybe they are smart to understand it, or if they have not studied both, either of the situation, no worries. So, section 45(5)(a) क्या है? आपका joint development agreement, right? So, joint development agreement में what happens? The year of taxability is what is the asset which is transferred? The asset which you give to the developer. The asset which you give to the developer that is transferred, right? And the year of taxability of that asset is actually postponed or deferred to the year when you get the certificate of completion, right? I hope everyone remembers this. Yes. And what is the full value of consideration of that asset is what you receive from the builder or the developer after he has done the construction. It may be a flat, it may be a combination of flat and some cash consideration. So that would be your full value of consideration for the property which you gave to the developer to develop. Clear? But one thing can also happen. Now, suppose builder said that I will give you 2 flats. I will give you 2 flats, okay? And I am a person with a family of 4. I said 1 flat is enough, and 1 flat I sold. 1 flat I sold. I can do this definitely, but 1 flat I sold even before the certificate of completion was given. Even before the certificate of completion was given. See, selling it after is a different scenario, which we discussed that once you have taken the full value of consideration, so whatever the stamp duty value you take, it becomes the cost of acquisition for the new flat which you get. Correct, that provision we have done. But what if you sell the flat even before the flat कौन सा जो आपको मिलना था, the flat which you had to receive even before the certificate of completion, then this beneficial provision will not happen. What is the beneficial provision? Of deferment of tax liability. Of deferment of tax liability. क्या होता है? What happens is my tax liability is deferred to the year when the certificate of completion is issued. Correct? But if I sell a flat even before this date, which flat which I'm yet to receive, but I've sold it. It happens. A lot of time it happens. Then yahan tak I did not even reach. I have already made a sale before the time period. So my taxability would happen in this time period itself. It will not get deferred to the beneficial provision wala stage. So to give you an example, आपने अपना फ्लैट डेवलपर को दिया 2017 में to develop. Okay, certificate of completion was issued in 2021. financial year 21-22 में certificate of completion was given. 17-18 में you gave the flat to developer. Now, as per the normal provision, you will say, ma'am, this house which is transferred or given the possession of in 2017 would be taxable in the year of 21-22. Correct? You will say yes. And what you was receiving in return were that two portion of flats, one floor 2. That would have been my full value of consideration. Correct. Right? And that full value of consideration, how? The stamp duty value of each flat on the date of issue or completion of certificate. Correct? Now, if one of the flat का deal मैंने पहले ही कर लिया, I did the deal of selling it in 2019 itself, say in financial year 1920 itself, then how is it technically possible to take it first to the certificate of completion when I'm already selling the consideration which is received before charging the capital gain of it? Think about it. Logically, is it possible? ये जो मुझे मिलना है इसको मैं पहले ही सेल कर रही हूँ, किससे पहले? इसको टैक्स करने से पहले जिसके कंसिडरेशन में ये मिलना है, right? So hence in that case the taxability will not get deferred to the certificate of completion date. It will not get deferred to the certificate of completion date. It will get taxable in this year itself. And then the provision of other provisions will apply accordingly. That means first you will tax the part of the stamp duty value, and then इसका आपका cost of acquisition होगा, and whatever you received in consideration for it, that would be your full value of consideration. Clear? It may, however, be noted these beneficial provisions would not apply where the assessee transfers his shares in the project on or before the date of issue of said completion of certificate, and the capital gain taxability would be deemed to arise in the previous year in which such transfer took place, that is, in financial year 1920. In such a case, full value of consideration received or accrued shall be determined by the general provisions of the Act. Clear? So this happens very rarely. For your level, you will have a question only up till only for a point where certificate of completion is issued and after that you calculate your capital gain. No problem, Mahadev. Insurance receipt is treated as PGBP income? No. It is taken as full value of consideration, and then you calculate it, you remove it from the block of asset if it's for depreciable assets. जैसे आप sale receipt का करते हो, वैसे you will do for it. Rafiq bhai, is it clear? Surya, cost of acquisition of convertible bonds may, technically there is a difference which is, see, technically we are not saying it well. We are saying कि ma'am, what is the cost of acquisition of convertible bonds? अब convertible bonds तो आपने already purchase किए होंगे, right? You would have purchased convertible bond for a certain price. You have already acquired it for a certain price. But your question should be here is, what is the cost of acquisition of shares received in conversion of these convertible bonds? The question should be not of convertible bonds for cost of acquisition, because that you would have acquired by paying the price. The cost of acquisition for the shares which you have paid, which you have received in this process of conversion of convertible bonds would be actually this cost only. अब क्या हुआ इस conversion के process में, the convertible bond is now vanished, right? There is no asset now as debentures, say convertible bonds are, अब वो bonds रहे नहीं, they have become shares. So that's why that conversion is not called as transfer. And since that conversion is not transfer, so my share the cost of acquisition becomes whatever price I paid for convertible bonds. So suppose I acquired these convertible bonds for rupees 100 per bond. Now shares I have received same number of shares. So share ka price kya ho jayega? Rupees 100 per bond. And hence technically share ka period of holding would begin from the period when I acquired those convertible bonds. Okay. One second on the assignment part. Pooja, if you so Pooja has a very interesting question. Pooja is saying, "Ma'am, insurance receipt abhi aapne bola it is not PGBP." Pooja, if you will see, book insurance stock and trade ka hai, right? Stock and trade ka insurance happens. It is like a income instead of the sale value. I received the insurance value, so that's why you treat it as your receipt. That's why you treat it as your receipt. Had it been for a capital asset or had it been for a depreciable asset, either way, then it would have taken as full value of consideration. Okay? So those who want to see, this is the question which Pooja was referring. I hope, Pooja, it is clear now. It is stock and trade. Clear? Pakka se? Any other query which is left, Prisha, I'll definitely do the full-fledged question. See, reverse mortgage ka maximum period comes to 20 years or to the life of the life expectancy of the senior citizen. So now let's begin our today's class with the topic amalgamation. So what is amalgamation? I hope you have done that in accounts. Amalgamation क्या होता है? So amalgamation can be if X merges into Y completely, or if X and Y, two other companies come and bring in X and Y. Okay? So this is called. This is my amalgamating company. And this is my amalgamated company. First of all, always see, to be very honest, I also got confused for a good period. Amalgamating kaun sa hota hai, amalgamated kaun sa hota hai? How would you remember it? I just had a very basic trick, which is going to amalgamate, going in amalgamating, and which has happened to be now the final result, that is amalgamated. So this is how I used to remember it. Amalgamating is which is going to be going to amalgamate. So that is amalgamating, and the one which is the resultant, which is the amalgamated. Okay. Now, what happens in amalgamation? The business transfer happens, the assets, liabilities all get transferred. In general amalgamation, the shareholder of the amalgamating company receives the shares of the amalgamated company. This is what amalgamation happens. What happens in amalgamation? I hope you people know. Correct. Very good, Neha. Okay. So now, इसमें for income tax, they say any transfer between an amalgamating company and the amalgamated company on occasion of amalgamation of capital asset would not be a transfer. That means capital asset के point of view से सोचो, I was being owned by X, but now I will be owned by XY. So there is a change in ownership. But this change in ownership would not be a transfer, and it's an exempt transfer under Section 47. But before we dug deep into this, we need to understand that amalgamation, there is a restricted definition which is allowed in income tax. If it is happening as per that definition, then only it will not be a transfer. Otherwise, it will always be a transfer. And what is that definition? Okay. Everyone on the screen, please. Yeah. So the definition says simply amalgamation, which is a merger of one or two or more companies with another, or merger of two or more companies to form one company. Okay. But amalgamation का ये three conditions है which is required to be fulfilled. Otherwise, it will not be an exempt transfer. What are the conditions? All the property of the amalgamating company or companies immediately before amalgamation becomes the property of the amalgamated company. मतलब सारा का सारा property of the amalgamating company becomes the property of the amalgamated company. Similarly, all the liabilities also becomes the liability of the amalgamated company. Next, shareholder holding not less than 3/4 in value of the shares in the amalgamating company. That means at least 75% of shareholders of amalgamating company, other than the shares already held immediately before the amalgamation by or nominee or all this you can ignore, becomes a shareholder of the amalgamated company by virtue of amalgamation. That means at least 75% of shareholders become the shareholder of the amalgamated company. Clear? So all property transferred, all liabilities transferred, and 75% shareholders become the shareholders of the amalgamated company. This is what is as per income tax defined the term amalgamation. So if amalgamation happens, that is all properties and liabilities and shareholders wala criteria, all of these three together are met. A property is becoming now of another owner. Hence, this would not be a transfer. Ma'am did not understand. So let's see it more better. 1 second. X and Y got merged and became an entity XY. Okay. Now please be very careful. This is amalgamating. This is amalgamated. X ने अपना सारा का सारा capital asset as property, basically property XY को दे दिया, right? From a point of view of amalgamating company, X has given everything. Logically, it should have been taxed as transfer, right? But since this transfer is exempt, why? Because amalgamation is happening and all the capital asset transferred in the scheme of amalgamation by the amalgamating company to the amalgamated company would be exempt from the scope of taxability of capital gain. ठीक है? Clear? किसी को कोई doubt यहाँ पे? नहीं. But a point of view से think about the company. Think about this company XY. XY के क्या पास आ रहे हैं? जो capital assets आ रहे हैं, right? Up from the point of view of XY, what is the cost of acquisition of these capital assets? What is the cost of acquisition of these capital assets? Think it would be the cost to the previous owner, which is cost to amalgamating company. So if I'm receiving, suppose a building in amalgamation as an amalgamated company, तो building का cost क्या होगा? जो cost amalgamating को company को मिला. So cost to previous owner would be the cost of those capital asset. ध्यान से सुनना, XY, think yourself now as XY. XY is getting these assets, but he has not acquired it basically by giving price of each, right? There is a scheme of amalgamation. What has happened? So for XY, जो assets मिल रहे हैं, उनका cost would be the cost to previous owner. Okay, and similarly, the period of holding would also be from the period when the previous owner has first held the asset. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt? Amalgamation में अभी खत्म नहीं हुआ. Don't worry. Step by step चलते हैं. Okay. Now think yourself from the point of view of shareholder of X. You are a shareholder of X and you have shares of X company. ठीक है? So X Private Limited की आपके पास shares है. X company के आपके पास shares है, right? Now, everyone listen and understand carefully. X Private Limited का you are shareholder. Now, because of amalgamation, what did we read? 75% of the shareholders become the shareholders of the amalgamated company. Now, because of amalgamation, what did I get? Shares of XY. My capital asset in question was shares of X Limited. What did I get in return? Shares of XY Limited. अब X Limited के shares are gone. I do, because the company is now merged into the XY Limited, so the shares are now gone. Correct? So now, when the shares are no more there, will there be any transfer? The answer is no. The answer is no. Why? Because again, as per section 47, whatever a shareholder receives, that is the shares of the amalgamated company receives in exchange of the shares of the amalgamating company, that exchange is not transfer. That exchange is not transfer. Now you will ask, ma'am, XY Limited ka, again, what is the cost of acquisition? क्योंकि मैंने as a shareholder, I did not pay anything. Did I pay anything? No. I paid for the shares of X Private Limited. Therefore, the cost of acquisition of amalgamated company ka shares would be the cost which you paid for X company ka shares. Logically सोचो, मेरे पास कुछ आ रहा है. क्यों आ रहा है? Because I had this. Now this is gone. And इसका जाना is not transferred. Clear? यहाँ तक clear? As per section 47. But now what I received, इसका cost क्या होगा? जो इसका price था, जो इसका cost था. ठीक है? इसका period of holding कब से होगा? From the date I had X के shares. From the date I had X ka share. So if I sell XY Limited ka shares in future as a shareholder, I sell XY Limited ka shares. So XY Limited ke shares ka period of holding I will start from the date when X ka shares were acquired. Clear? बोलो clear हुआ या नहीं? Cost of acquisition of shares received under the scheme of amalgamation, यानी XY Limited के shares का cost of acquisition क्या होगा? Where shares in an amalgamated company, which is an Indian company, becomes the property of the cessee in consideration of transfer of shares referred to in section 47(2) held by him in the amalgamated company. So अब मैं XY की तरफ पढ़ती हूँ, where shares of XY Limited, which is an Indian company, become property of the cessee in consideration of the transfer of shares of X Limited held by him in the amalgamated company under a scheme of amalgamation, the cost of acquisition to him of the shares of XY Limited shall be taken as the cost of acquisition of the shares in the X Private Limited. Clear hua? Yes. So this is all about what happens to the shareholder in amalgamation and what happens to the company. Company के लिए we saw that amalgamated company के hand में transfer, no taxability of transfer would come because it's an exempt transfer. Shareholder में also we saw that X Limited के shares पे no taxability on transfer will come because again it is an exempt transfer, but one must be careful to see what is the cost of acquisition of the incoming asset. For XY Limited, what is the cost of acquisition of X company asset? The cost which was of the previous owner. For the shareholder point of view, what is the cost of acquisition of XY Limited shares? The price which we paid for the shares of X Private Limited. Okay? Take a moment and then we'll proceed with demerger. Now, demerger को समझने के लिए, अगर if this is clear, then only demerger would be clear. %75 amalgamation के लिए they have set the limit कि amalgamation तभी होगा जब shareholders भी at least 75% shareholders are becoming the shareholders of the amalgamated company. There is no you have to see yourself from an individual point of shareholder who was a shareholder of amalgamating company and now is the shareholder of the amalgamated company. Bharat, don't confuse yourself with this such questions. The property was owned by one of the amalgamators. This will ultimately lead you to confusion. First, understand the basics. Yes, merging amalgamation, we can say it same. Amalgamating means जो amalgamate हो रही है, which is going to amalgamate. Okay. And amalgamated मतलब जिसके साथ amalgamate हुई है, which is the final result. So to be very honest, I also used to get confused as student. So then I used to remember which is going to amalgamate, going amalgamating. I used to remember it like that. चलिए समझे आगे? चलो. Now let's understand demerger. Demerger में students क्या होता है? What happens in demerger? Simple, जैसे दो entities मिलती हैं वैसे दो entities अलग हो रही हैं. So there was X Limited, there was XY Limited. XY Limited था, अब अलग करके now they are X Limited and Y Limited. Is a Hero MotoCorp is now Hero, it's different, right? So there was a demerger which happened. So XY Limited था पहले and now there is X Limited and Y Limited. This is called my demerged company because now this is getting demerged. And this is called my resultant company. कभी कभार ऐसा होता है कि दोनों अलग होते हैं या कभी कभार क्या होता है XY Limited में से X chose to go. So XY Limited ये demerged हो गया, demerged, and जो X Limited आया that is called resultant company. ठीक है? This is my resultant company, this is my demerged company. Concept clear? But just like we understood that there are certain conditions for amalgamation as per your income tax, similarly, demerger ka bhi section 2 mein there is resulted that these conditions should be met. First is same, all properties of the undertaking which is transferred by the demerged company. जैसे इस केस में X is getting transferred from XY immediately before the demerger becomes the property of the resulting company by the virtue of demerger. So जो भी X का share था ना उसके अंदर every X का जो property था it is becoming the property of the X company now as a standalone. Similarly, all liabilities of X now become XY में जो भी X का liability था is now becoming the liability of X Limited. Property and liabilities of the undertaking or undertakings being transferred by the demerged are transferred at values appearing in books of account immediately before the demerger. That means the transfer is happening at the book value. Book value means, ma'am, did not understand? Simple. आपने XY लिमिटेड का बैलेंस शीट देखा, ठीक है, एंड कैसे था X यूनिट का, Y यूनिट का, ऐसे ऐसे उसमें हर एक यूनिट का अलग अलग वैल्यू दिया हुआ था. अब नाउ XY लिमिटेड से X अलग हो गया, X अलग हो गया. So whatever book value pay assets which were coming in the books of XY limited for X undertaking, in the books of XY limited for the X undertaking, at that same book value, now X limited has recorded those assets, ठीक है. However, this provision does not apply wherein compliance to the Indian accounting standards specified in an NGO so and so. The resulting company records the value of the property and liabilities of undertaking at a value different from the value appearing in the books of accounts of the demerged company immediately before the demerger. So basically, as per this Indian accounting standards, the rules hai, which says that they have to record the property at a different accounting value. ठीक है, फाइन. उस केस में ये बुक वैल्यू वाला अगर पॉइंट मैच नहीं भी हो रहा, दैट इज ओके. इफ इन दैट केस द बुक वैल्यू वाला पॉइंट इज नॉट गेटिंग मैच, दैट इज ओके. उसके बाद द रिजल्टिंग कंपनी इश्यूज इन कंसिडरेशन ऑफ द डीमर्जर इट शेयर्स टू द शेयर होल्डर्स ऑफ द डीमर्ज्ड कंपनी ऑन अ प्रोपोर्शनेट बेसिस. दिस नोट यू कैन इग्नोर. अब ये क्या है मैम? सिंपल सा है. XY लिमिटेड था, XY लिमिटेड था, ओके. XY लिमिटेड से अब क्या अलग हो गया? X अलग हो गया. तो X लिमिटेड अपने शेयर होल्डर्स को, अब X लिमिटेड के शेयर होल्डर्स ऑब्वियसली XY लिमिटेड के होंगे, शेयर स्प्लिट हो गए होंगे, राइट. सो वो बिकॉज ऑफ दैट वैल्यू व्हिच हैज नॉट बीन स्प्लिट, X लिमिटेड क्या करेगा? उनको वो शेयर देगा टू कॉम्पनसेट फॉर द प्राइस. आई डिड नॉट अंडरस्टैंड. सिंपल सा, मेरा XY लिमिटेड का शेयर वैल्यू था, फेस वैल्यू 100 per share. नाउ आफ्टर X got split, the face value obviously dropped to 50 per share. But I have already invested in. अब मेरे पास क्या हो जाएगा? मेरे पास XY लिमिटेड के कुछ शेयर्स रह जाएंगे एंड मेरे को X एट अ रिड्यूस्ड वैल्यू, XY लिमिटेड के शेयर्स होंगे एट अ रिड्यूस्ड वैल्यू एंड X लिमिटेड के न्यू शेयर्स मिल जाएंगे एंड X लिमिटेड के न्यू शेयर्स मिल जाएंगे टू कॉम्पनसेट दैट डिमर्जर. The shareholders not holding less than 3/4 in the value of the shares in the demerged company become the shareholders of the resulting company or companies by the virtue of demerger, otherwise than as a result of the acquisition of the property or assets of the demerged company or any undertaking thereof by resulting company. Simple सा point क्या कह रहे हैं? जैसे amalgamation में था कि 75% shareholder of the amalgamating company become the shareholders of the amalgamated company. Similarly, 75% shareholders of the demerged company becomes the shareholder of the resultant company. Secondly, demerger आपका इस बेस पे होगा that it is a going concern demerger. It is not for a limited period. This is not related to transfer. अभी हमने सब demerger समझा. Demerger में हमने क्या समझा? That whatever उस undertaking का whatever books, whatever property and assets, what property assets and liabilities were there in the demerged company becomes the property and liabilities of that resultant company at the book value immediately before the demerger. ठीक है, उसके साथ साथ shareholders of resultant company, shareholders of the demerged company will get the share of the resultant company, and at least 75% shareholder of the demerged company becomes the shareholder of the resultant company. Clear? This is demerger का concept. This is demerger का concept. But now let's understand from the point of view of capital gains. Okay, so this is my demerged company and this is my resultant company. This is my demerged company, this is my resultant company. Now what will happen? XY Limited में X undertaking के जो liabilities and assets थे, that becomes the assets of X Limited. Now think yourself from the point of view of XY Limited. Assets जा रहे हैं, right? But is there a transfer? No. Is there a transfer? No. As per section 47, any capital asset transferred by the demerged company to the resultant company in the scheme of demerger would not be a transfer in the hands of XY Limited. Would not be the transfer in the hands of demerged company. So अब सारे के सारे जो X के यूनिट के assets थे, X के undertaking के assets थे, that became the assets of X Limited without it being transferred under capital gain. Without it being transferred under capital gain, even if the ownership has changed. Okay. So now for X Limited, what would be the cost of acquisition? What would be the cost of acquisition for X Limited? What would be the cost of acquisition for X Limited? I want you people to participate, please. What would be the cost of acquisition for X Limited? You can say, Pooja, you can say both are resultant company, that is okay. But to appeal for the simplicity, we are saying कि एक identity declare कर रहा है. Cost to the previous owner, okay. Cost of demerged company, book value before the transfer, interesting. Shares and value of shares and assets in that company, okay. So we have it is actually the cost to the previous owner. It is actually your cost to the previous owner. So whatever demerged company had paid for those assets, वही cost आपका, वही cost of acquisition हो जाएगा for the resultant company. Clear? वही cost हो जाएगा for the resultant company. Now students, before I proceed, you will think, man, इस लेवल का क्वेश्चन इंटर में आता है, very rare. For demerger and amalgamation, capital gain question comes very rare. But having said that, it can be a part of your MCQs because again, anything could be asked by ISI. So always be prepared for the concepts. Do not ratify the answers or do not ratify the method. Be prepared for the concepts. Now let's understand the important part, which is from the point of view of shareholder. Shareholder के hand में क्या होगा? Okay. अब रिजल्टिंग कंपनी को क्या मिल रहा है और द रिजल्टेंट कंपनी को क्या मिल रहा है? शेयर्स. ठीक है. नाउ यू आर अ शेयर होल्डर ऑफ XY Limited. You are a shareholder of XY Limited. Now XY Limited के shares के साथ साथ because of the demerger, you receive the share of X Limited also. You receive the shares of X Limited also. So suppose if I had acquired the shares of XY Limited at rupees say 150 per share. Now after demerger मुझे X Limited के भी shares मिल गए. X Limited के भी shares मिल गए. What price did I pay to get those shares? मेरे लिए cost of acquisition क्या होगा for X Limited का shares? What would be my cost of acquisition for X Limited का shares? यहाँ पे we calculate the value proportionately. हम proportionately कैसे? अब क्या हुआ? 150 per share में मैंने कब invest किया था? When XY Limited was a complete entity, there was no demerger, right? But now X Limited is separated. Now X Limited is separated. So proportionate basis पे I invested 150. ठीक है? X Limited is separated. कुछ book value of assets यहाँ पे transfer हुए होंगे. So the book value of assets transferred upon में total net worth immediately before demerger. Simple unitary method है. मेरे लिए इसका क्या वैल्यू हुआ? मैंने 150 टोटल कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट किया था. नाउ 150 टोटल कंपनी में से एक पार्ट चला गया, राइट? उस पार्ट जो चला गया उसका बट मुझे शेयर मिला. शेयर तो मिला बट उसके लिए मेरी कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन क्या होगी? प्रोपोर्शनेट. क्योंकि 150 मैंने एक बड़ी कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट किया था, उसका अब एक पार्ट चला गया तो उस पार्ट का ऑब्वियसली प्रोपोर्शनेट वैल्यू होगी. कितना उस कंपनी में गया अपॉन में टोटल नेटवर्थ ऑफ XY, upon the total net worth of XY. So suppose the book value of the asset transfer was 100 crore and the total net worth immediately, that means XY Limited ka before demerger was 500 crores. So for me, XY Limited का cost of acquisition मैंने बस proportionate कर दिया of the price which I paid in total. So for me, the cost of acquisition for XY Limited का share would be now 30 per share. Sorry, the cost of acquisition of X Limited का share would be 30 per share. क्योंकि X Limited को मैंने पैसे देके acquire नहीं किया, मैंने पैसे किसके लिए दिए थे? I paid the amount only for the before demerged company, the before demerger company, right? Now before demerger company में if I had invested 150 rupees per share, now उसका एक part चला गया तो उस चले हुए part के बदले जो shares मिल रहे हैं उसका proportionate value हो गया logically, right? So now this is 30 per share is the cost of acquisition of shares of resulting company. So in MCQ, a question can come where these figures would be given that the shares of XY Limited was purchased at a value of 150 before demerger. The demerger happened and X Limited was demerged and now X Limited is a resulting company. The book value of the asset transferred to the resulting company were 100 crore and the net worth immediately before the transfer was 500 crore of the entire company. What the shareholders of XY Limited got the shares of X Limited. What is the cost of acquisition of X Limited shares? This is the question which will come and this is the simplest answer. Simply, जितना मैंने पूरे में invest किया उसको proportionate कर दिया what the part has got. So for me, X Limited का cost of acquisition would be 30 per share. But still XY Limited is there. Suppose demerger company पूरी के तरीके से liquidate नहीं हुआ. The demerged company still exists, maybe with a different name or whatever name, but this जो अलग हो गया that is resulting, जो वैसे रहा that is demerged, right? उसकी कंपनी के भी तो shares मेरे पास है, right? Abhi still I have the shares of demerged company. I still have the shares of, now along with the shares of demerged company, I have the shares of resulting company. Resulting company के shares का cost of acquisition I calculated, correct? But what is the share of demerged company का cost of acquisition? Cost of acquisition of demerged company के shares क्या होगा? 150 per share. No, because 150 per share was the cost of acquisition of this company before demerger. But now the demerger has happened, some part has split. Split वाले part का मैंने निकाल लिया, right? Split वाले part का I calculated. Then cost of acquisition of the shares of the demerged company would be the value which I invested minus split wala part minus split wala part, hence 120. Hence now the cost of acquisition for the demerged company ka share would be 120 per share. The cost of acquisition of the resulting company ka share would be calculated proportionately. Take your time to absorb this. I'll leave you 8 minutes के लिए for this and then ask the question. ठीक है? Read this. Nalini, it is not 100. Is it clear now? Correct, Abhinay. So now to sum up, can I easily say कुछ नहीं, simply from the आपको दो चीजें देखनी है when demerger is happening from the point of view of company, from the point of view of shareholder. कंपनी के लिए assets are the कंपनी का asset, shareholder के लिए asset in question is the shares. उसमें अगर demerger and amalgamation में first see the question is asked from the point of view of which entity, company's entity or the shareholder entity. Amalgamation में company amalgamating company के hand में there would be no transfer, and for the amalgamated company the asset which they have received, the cost of acquisition would be the cost of the previous owner. Demerger के case में demerged company के hand में there would be no transfer, and resultant company के लिए the cost of acquisition would be the cost to the previous owner. Clear? Now come to the shareholder point of view. Shareholder point of view में X limited amalgamation में whatever the shareholders of amalgamating company is receiving, which are the shares of the amalgamated company. Shares of amalgamated company का cost of acquisition would be equal to the cost which was paid for the amalgamating company. Demerger के time पे there are still two entities. One is the demerged company, another is the resultant company. So now I am a shareholder of both the companies. I am the shareholder of both the companies. I got resultant company का shares. I got resultant company का shares. So resultant company का cost of acquisition क्या होगा? Simply proportionate what I paid for the entire company into proportionate method of what the resultant company has taken away upon the net worth. This is basically the book value upon the net worth. And जो बचा हुआ company, which is the demerged company का shares, that would be reduced from the cost of acquisition of the resulting company का shares. Clear? This is the summary of it. But reason, I hope everyone has got it. So maximum to maximum, this can come as an MCQ. Read this part also. अगर किसी को कोई भी confusion है, you can ask it here. किसी को कोई भी डाउट? पक्का से? रितेश, नलिनी, वेरी गुड. Ramakrishnan, any doubt? I want a yes for everyone. I think it's technical, but if you understand the reason, Rafiq bhai, Pooja, Vishali. Very good. Now we understand another concept which is ESOP. ESOP का generally आपने perquisite valuation में salary में किया होगा, but now let's understand it from the point of view of capital gains. ESOP क्या होता है? What is ESOP? ESOP is where the company gives an option to employee, to invest in the company shares at a predetermined price. इसमें फायदा क्या होता है? They give it not to every employee, they give it to the employees जिनका performance would impact the company. And the idea of giving it, that employee feels themselves as a shareholder, and they automatically work better for the company because now they know that they own a part of a company. ठीक है? So now they own a part of a company. Company के growth में they see their own growth. So this is why ESOPs are given. Now, होता क्या है? There is an option which is given to the employee to exercise. He has to exercise an option on a certain period, on a certain date. ठीक है? So on the date of exercise, there would be a fair market value. Right? Of those shares. But I exercise an option at an exercise price. I exercise an option at a price which is predetermined to me. So then what is the cost of acquisition of the shares under ESOPs? What is the cost of acquisition of shares under ESOPs? Is this the exercise price, or is this the fair market value? Is this the price which as an employee I gave it, or is it the fair market value? The answer is fair market value. You will say, ma'am, why? I'll tell you. Now, listen carefully. आपने क्या किया? Suppose the fair market value was of 300 per share. Okay. But you had the beneficial price of 200 per share. You paid from your pocket 200 per share, right? So you will say, ma'am, pockets are given 200 per share, so that would be the cost of acquisition. Do not forget, cost of acquisition will ultimately be a deductible amount when you further sell those shares. Okay. Salary, if you remember, ESOPs pay, you calculated a perquisite. How did you calculate the perquisite? The perquisite value क्या होता था? The difference between the fair market value and the exercise price. So 300 per share minus 200 per share. 100 per share मेरा salary का part होता था, on which as an employee I used to pay tax. Why it was a perquisite? Because I got an additional benefit of 100 per share on such shares, right? That's why it was a perquisite. Now, think of yourself from an employee. आपने 200 का share खरीदा, right? और 100 का आपने जो differential amount था, उसको आपने अपना income भी ले लिया, and you offered a tax on it. Now you can rightfully claim the fair market value of those shares as your cost of acquisition. Why I can rightfully claim? Because 200 I paid from pocket, 100 का मैंने perquisite की तरह दिखा के I paid the tax on it. So now I can rightfully claim the fair market value as the fair market value of shares as my cost of acquisition. So can I just simply put in the cost of acquisition of the shares received under ESOP would be the fair market value taken for the perquisite ka calculation. Would be the fair market value taken for the perquisite ka calculation. Clear? Now, एक confusion आया इस concept में. This is simple. Right? अब think yourself that you have ESOPs. You received shares under ESOPs. ठीक है, आपने एक्सरसाइज कर लिया, आपके पास शेयर्स आ गए. ओके, नाउ यू गिफ्टेड इट टू योर फ्रेंड. आपने वो शेयर्स एक्सरसाइज करने के बाद अपने फ्रेंड को गिफ्ट करा. You gifted the shares which you received under ESOP to your friend, Mr. X. Now, we understood in section 47 that any gift, asset transferred under any gift is an exempt transfer. We understood that, right? Did we or did we not? We did. But uska ek exception hai that if you transfer the shares which is received under the ESOP scheme, either the shares or debentures which are received under the ESOP Okay. Okay. I'm so sorry, students. The network got disrupted. I hope we can start again. Okay. So let's start again with where we left. So I was telling you that for ESOPs, the shares, the cost of acquisition is the fair market value of the shares. And how that is the fair market value? Because one, the price which you paid, another the price which you offered as perquisite. So now you can rightfully claim the cost of acquisition as a fair market value. But one thing, remember students, that when you are transferring shares under ESOPs, please remember one thing, that when you're transferring shares under ESOPs, simple transfer over it, then rightfully you will claim the fair market value as a cost of acquisition, and you will take whatever you have received as your full value of consideration. Correct. But if you're giving the shares as gift, you will say it is an exempt transfer. I will say no, because यहाँ पे clearly section 47 में it is written that if the shares which are received under ESOPs as gift, section 47 would not apply. That means there is a transfer. किसका? जो shares मुझे मिला ESOPs में, right? तो उसके लिए you will ask the question, what is the full value of consideration, right? You will ask the first question, ma'am, what would be the full value of consideration? Because I have given it as gift. तो कुछ तो मिला नहीं, तो मैं क्या लूंगा full value of consideration? So I say the fair market value on date of such gift would be deemed to be the full value of consideration, and cost of acquisition क्या होगा? The fair market value on exercise date. So you will calculate your capital gain. Next question you will ask the period of holding. Period of holding from the date you exercise the shares to the date you give it as gift. So specifically only on ESOPs wala shares, if given as gift, is not an exempt transfer. It would be taxed. Okay. Clear? किसी को कोई भी doubt? Aragya, thank you for your sweet comment. Anything else which I can help you on? Clear. Now, tell me honestly, students, few things. Section 50, depreciable asset pay. Were you taught capital gain in PGBP? When you got taught capital gain in PGBP? Okay. Okay. So no problem. We'll do it now. Acha, now students, I want to understand before we proceed, is capital gain quite confusing? Or you are understanding capital gain? Because capital gain is such a huge topic and the sections are interrelated also and are independent also at the same time. To understand one, you have to go to the other section. To understand the other section, you have to go back to the one section. So there's quite to and fro. So the idea was to break the chapters into topic where first we understood transfer, then we understood the capital asset, then we understood the short-term, long-term capital asset, then we understood the computation. How do you compute it? Computation में क्या-क्या चाहिए? You require cost of acquisition, you require cost of improvement, and you require full value of consideration. How do you calculate them in different scenarios? Is what is a challenge, right? How do you calculate them? See, because transfers can happen in multiple types. It is not just a sale and purchase between two parties, right? It can be through gift, it can be through will, it can be through exchange of assets, it can be through various modes. And when you grow, amalgamations, mergers, right shares, bonus shares, all of those things are happening, and there is lots and lot of things going on the tax world. So if you not take each of them separately and independently, अगर आप उनको understand नहीं करोगे, it would become a task. But independent understanding के लिए the roots, the base has to be clear of asking those questions, that what is cost of acquisition, what is capital gain, what is your what is cost of acquisition, what is full value of consideration, what is period of holding. If you will look answers for these three things, along with obviously before that, whether it's a capital asset or not, or a transfer or not, you will not come to the conclusion of it, right? So I hope there has been simple, I tried to make it as simple as you can, but I understood that for some people there was some overwhelming concepts, and that's why I've taken this pause of a minute and so to understand it, whether we all are on same page or not. So again, feedbacks will help. We can take it through some other approach. But if you will read or open the chapter for the first time and you will go through it, you will not find the link between one section to another, and you will see that different sections are coming in, right? So we break it into a part where we understand the base first and then multiple transactions. Okay, so Arakya, would you like to say something now? Or Pooja, anyone else? Correct. Some points are quite technical, and I will not expect from the student who is just at an inter level, who has not seen how the things practically work, to understand it in one go. But I can make sure that I'll be here to support you. If you will not understand it again and again, I can explain it. But the first effort has to come from your part. Okay, yeah. So Pooja has a question, ma'am. Why are we calculating capital gain when we are keeping things apart from transfer? So Pooja, जहाँ पे transfer नहीं है, that is as per section 47. If it is not a transfer, we are not calculating the capital gain. We are nowhere calculating the capital gain. But when something is not a transfer, there might some question arise that, okay, this is not a transfer, fine. This will not be a capital gain, fine. But what will happen to the person who is receiving the asset? Uske liye what would be the cost of acquisition? Uske liye what would be the period of holding? Right? Because kabhi na kabhi that person will transfer it further. Then he has to have that question of, okay, now I received this asset, I did not purchase the price, so should I take everything as nil? No. Income tax may everything, if is taxed to income, if it is offered to income tax, it becomes a deductible expenditure. If it is not offered to income tax, you cannot claim it. This is how the cycle goes. जैसे मैंने कुछ चीज offer कर दिया, I can claim it. जैसे if you remember, I can help you relate it. When we talk about PGBP, the salary or the profit or the interest, not the profit, the salary or the interest on capital, which is offered to tax. Offered to tax means on which the deduction is not claimed, or if I can say on which the deduction is claimed by the firm. Only that part becomes taxable in the hands of the partner. The part on which deduction is not claimed, that is the part which is disallowed, is not taxable in the hands of partner also. The reason is कि disallowed part पे firm ने tax दे दिया, now the partner will not pay the tax. Similarly, capital gain में also the same thing happens. If the cost has been claimed as deduction, or if you have paid the price pay tax, then you can claim it as deduction. If the cost of acquisition has not been claimed as deduction by any of the person before, then you claim the cost of acquisition as deduction. But it is a step-by-step approach. Okay? Pooja, is it clear? The difference whether something has to be treated as capital gain on PGBP totally depends upon the nature and the intent. If you are investing something with an intent of investment, that and you're not frequently trading into it, that is always your capital asset. But if I'm frequently trading into it, like shares, it becomes my stock in trade. Bhai, I would strongly say that please practice the chapter and read the chapter once. If any confusion comes, I'm here to solve it. Okay. Sorry to take this 5-minute break because I really wanted to understand whether we all are heading into the right direction. Clear. Thank you so much. No, 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Anji? नहीं 5 मिनट बाद ब्रेक. So now we proceed to another independent section. Bar a question comes about depreciable assets. No one asked, ma'am, depreciable assets mein how will one be calculating the capital gain? Depreciable asset mein how do we calculate the capital gain? Depreciable asset mein how does the thing goes? You have your opening WDV, correct? Then you add acquisitions during the year, additions during the year. On this value, if there is any transfer, then you remove it, and whatever value comes, us pe you apply depreciation, right? Depreciation lagane ke baad, whatever value comes, that becomes your closing WDV. Everyone remembers this? This is how a block of asset happens, right? But capital gain, how do we calculate capital gain? यहाँ पे capital gain calculate करने का there is a very simple method. We divided asset is sold, यानी उस block में सारे का सारे asset is sold, or whether only part of the block of asset is sold. If the whole block is sold, matlab now the block ceases to exist. Sare asset I have sold. All the assets I have sold. So if there was a plant and machinery ka block at 15%, whatever plant and machinery was there, I've sold everything. That is whole block. If there were plant or machinery ka block at 15%, and out of 3 I sold, suppose 1, that is another block. Okay. Isme also 2 things happens. If my full value of consideration is more than my opening WDV plus additions, and if my full value of consideration is less than opening WDV plus additions, matlab, I had a block of asset of say opening value 100 crores, addition during the year 10 crore, 110 crore. Now my full value of consideration is 130 crores. That means the full value of consideration is more than my opening WDV plus the addition. This is a typical case of short-term capital gain. 130 पे ट्रांसफर हुआ 110 वाला पार्ट, typical case of short-term capital gain. ठीक है, if instead of 130 my 100 वाला यहाँ पे 10 addition हुआ 110, my full value of consideration which I received for selling the entire assets in the block and selling the entire depreciable assets in the block, I received only 100. Then 10 is my short-term capital loss. Then 10 is my short-term capital loss. Simple maths है, I am receiving 130 for 110 gain, I am receiving 100 for 110 loss. Always the nature would be short-term. The reason is simple. The gain ka nature and loss ka nature is simple. That the value from which you are subtracting is the written down value. And written down value is a value which is present value, right? So that's why, irrespective of what we have understood in the period of holding and your capital asset, long-term, short-term capital asset definition, here you have to remember the resultant capital gain would always be short-term. ये तो बहुत simple है, correct? अब part of block of assets में क्या होगा? Part of block of assets में simple such case would happen. Let's take it as I had 3 machineries at 100. Okay, I purchased another machinery of 40. Now my block of asset opening WDV plus addition 140. I sold one of the machinery. For 70. अब आप क्या करते हो depreciation में? Let's do not make it 70. Let's make it 80. ठीक है, 60 पे you apply depreciation. This is what you do, right? When a part of a block of asset is sold, then on the remaining value you apply the depreciation, and then you will see whether the 60 में कितना new का है, कितना opening का है, right? This is how you do. Correct. This is absolutely correct. This is first part where full value of consideration is less than the opening WDV plus my additions. This is what you say. But it can happen, the block, same situation, 100 opening WDV, 40 का new asset acquired, total 150. I sold only one machinery, but I sold it for a price of 150. एक machinery था, उसका इतना demand था that I sold it at a price of 150. There are still 3 machineries left. 3 machineries left still. But अब क्या करूं मैं? अब यहाँ पे क्या करूं? My full value of consideration is more than the opening WDV plus additions. My full value of consideration is more than the opening WDV plus additions. Then this would be a resultant case of short-term capital gain of 10. Short-term capital gain of 10. You will say, ma'am, still the assets are there. No worries, the assets are there. Block has not ceased to exist, but no more depreciation would be allowed. See the 10 pay. See the 10 would be my short-term capital gain. So can I say that whenever the full value of consideration is more than opening plus addition, it is a case of short-term capital gain. If full value of consideration is less than opening plus addition and the whole block of assets cease to exist, it would be a short-term capital loss. Otherwise, if full value of consideration plus is less than the opening and additions, it would be a case where on the remaining value you apply depreciation. So, जब भी depreciation का capital gain का question आएगा ना, be the happiest because it is the simplest question to solve and there is nothing else. In 4 out of 2 situations, you will be having capital gain, short-term capital gain. In another situation, there will be short-term capital loss. And in 2 out of 4 situations, you will be having short-term capital gain. In one situation, we'll be having short-term capital loss, and in another, the depreciation. But do not ratify, think it logically. Okay? किसी को कोई doubt? Great. So with this, we'll take break. We'll sharp start at 8:40 with your slump sale, with the concept of slump sale. Very interesting concept. So come back, hydrate yourself, and let's see. Thank you. Sir, break. Okay, so on the part of block of assets, let's understand it again. 1 second. Let us take it off with an example, okay? अच्छा फुल ब्लॉक वाला में सिंपल है, ज्यादा है तो कैपिटल गेन, कम है तो कैपिटल लॉस, शॉर्ट टर्म, बोथ इन द नेचर ऑफ शॉर्ट टर्म. Now what where we are finding it difficult to connect is for the part of the block. I had two plant and machineries. Let's take it simply without any additions. ओपनिंग WDV उनका क्या था, 71 और 81, ठीक है. So 150 was the opening WDV. I sold 70 वाला plant and machinery. 70 वाला plant and machinery. There was a 70 वाला plant and machinery at 90, ठीक है. So I will reduce it from 90. 60 is the part of block left. 60 is the part of block left, right? Is 60 पे I will apply depreciation. 60 पे I will apply depreciation at the rate of 15%. Am I right? 60 पे 15% के हिसाब से I will apply depreciation. All everyone agree? Yes. So my closing WDV would be 15 part. Anyone has any doubts? No. This is the part of block of assets. ये आप, this is something which you used to do in your depreciation wala calculation also, right? Now let's take another example. My opening WDV is 150, ठीक है. सेम, एक 70 वाला मशीनरी है, एक 80 वाला है. Now 80 वाला मशीनरी को there was such a high demand of this that 80 वाला machinery got sold at 160. अब as per my depreciation का computation, जो depreciation का computation है section 32 के according, I have to reduce the full value of consideration from my opening WDV plus addition, and then I have to calculate depreciation like we did it here, right? Like we did it here. But now, when I will reduce 150 minus 160, I have 10 of a gain. Nothing is left to charge depreciation on. Nothing, no value is left to charge depreciation on, right? So, in that case, where a block has not ceased to exist, but still full value of consideration is more than the opening WDV plus additions if any, then simply whatever the value comes would be my short-term capital gain. Whatever the value comes would be my short-term capital gain. ठीक है. तो अगर लॉजिकली अगर आप वैसे ना करते, आप 80 में से 160 माइनस करते, आप 80 को अपना शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन दिखाते, 70 पे आप डेप्रिसिएशन चार्ज करते रहते ओवर द पीरियड, राइट. एंड अल्टीमेटली अगर आप जाके देखते तो आपका 10 का ही गेन आ रहा होता ओवर द लॉन्ग पीरियड. सो द इनकम टैक्स सिंपली सेड दैट डू नॉट मेक अ हॉच पॉच. जो हम फॉलो कर रहे हैं, वील फॉलो दैट ओनली. इफ there is any part left on which I can charge depreciation, then I will charge depreciation. If no part is left and there is a gain coming, I will charge short term, I will take short term capital gain and I will pay tax for it. Okay? Clear? Now, anyone has any doubt on this? Pooja, Ramakrishnan? Great. Now we proceed ahead to understand the concept of. There is a lag of 1 minute. Another independent concept which is called slump sale. Now, what is this slump? Lump sum सुना है आप लोगों ने? Lump sum. Slump sale क्या होता है? When an entire undertaking. Yes, Mahadev, in both the cases, part of the asset is sold. Still, there is no value left to charge a depreciation on, so we will say, okay, ठीक है, bye bye Tata. जो gain आ रहा है, उसको will offer to tax. Correct. Pooja, there are only two possibilities in case of blocks. Part of the block of asset sale, either depreciation or capital gain. In case of the entire block of assets sold, capital gain or capital loss, both in short term. ठीक है? So now back to the concept of slump sale. Slump sale क्या होता है? Where you have an undertaking, ठीक है? I have an undertaking. मेरे पास एक प्लांट है, प्लांट मतलब पूरा फैक्ट्री है, एक गोवा में एक पूरा यूनिट है मेरा मुंबई में. ओके, I sell my entire गोवा वाला यूनिट. It's referred as unit. Very bad in writing, no? Let's write clearly. I have one unit in Goa and I have another unit too in Mumbai. ठीक है, गोवा वाला यूनिट से मेरे को ज्यादा प्रॉफिट नहीं हो रहा था. I decided to slump sale, as in lump sum sale of the Goa unit. I met an investor and मैंने full undertaking along with उस undertaking के जितने भी assets है, plant and machinery, fixtures, furniture, the area, the building, everything, I made a deal to sell it. ठीक है, I made a deal to sell it. But interesting part here is I am not assigning a value for each asset. Okay, you give me 10 crore for the plants, the machinery. You give me 2 crores for the for the furniture fittings. You give me 1 crore for the computers and all those things which are used. You give me 10 crores for the building area. No, we just came to a value and we got a deal done in 70 crores. Okay? So instead of assigning the value to each asset and all those things, we did a complete lump sum amount decide किया और sale कर दिया. But interesting part is there is a sale, there is a transfer, right? Slump sale, transfer, right? How will the capital gain be computed in this situation when there are multiple assets involved? Also, along with assets, the liability may also be transferred because entire undertaking, सब कुछ का पूरा exact is transferred. So, how one will calculate the capital gain? To calculate the capital gain, first we need to identify what is my asset which we're talking about, this entire undertaking, right? Then I told you to see whether it's a short term or a long term. Since there is no particular value assigned to a particular asset, this entire undertaking would become my capital asset in question. ठीक है? इस entire undertaking से जो gain आएगा वो long term होगा या short term होगा would be seen on the fact whether this undertaking was acquired for a period of 36 months or more? If yes, then it would be a long term. If no, it would be a short term gain or a loss. So what did I say? Undertaking by nature, how will we see? We will see if this undertaking has been held for more than 36 months, then it would be long term. If this undertaking was held for less than 36 months, this would be short term. So if my OA unit I had built and acquired and built in 2018, in 2008, November 2018, and I am selling this in December 21. So 36 months are completed. Hence, this unit OA would be considered as a long-term capital asset. इससे जो gain आएगा would be long-term. If this is less than 36 months, I'm selling it in April 21. Then it would be a short-term. Clear? But how one has to compute the capital gain? Capital gain के लिए हमें क्या क्या चाहिए? Full value of consideration चाहिए होता है, right? Minus cost of acquisition चाहिए होता है. Obviously, transfer expenses is pending. Long term, short term हमने identify कर लिया. Full value of consideration क्या होगा? जो the other party is giving to me, right? If this 70 crores in this case. यहाँ पे I'm putting one star, which we'll discuss later. 70 crores in this case. Interesting part is cost of acquisition क्या होगा? What would be the cost of acquisition? हर एक asset का अलग अलग निकलेगा? No. The cost of acquisition would be simply the net worth of the undertaking. The net worth of the undertaking. Cost of acquisition would be the net worth of the undertaking. But net worth कैसे निकालेंगे? How will we calculate the net worth? Simply जो भी depreciable assets है उनका book value, जो भी depreciable assets का WDV, जो भी depreciable assets है उनका WDV, जो भी other assets है उनका book value, other assets का book value, depreciable assets का WDV, liabilities को we will reduce and I will get the net worth. Simple. And I will get the net worth. यहाँ पे few question you will have in mind, ma'am. Even if this unit में stock in trade is there in my balance sheet, will I have to consider that also? Yes, everything you have to consider. उसमें PGBP part नहीं निकालेंगे. So this is the particularity of slump sale, that all the assets which are there in the balance sheet, उनका net worth आप compute करोगे. कैसे? Depreciable assets को you will take it at WDV, other assets को you will take it at book value, liabilities को you will reduce, and simply you will come to net worth. Simply you will come to net worth. Even stock in trade has to be considered. But few things which you have to keep in mind is no revaluation benefit. If any asset is revalued and वो अपने revalued price पे है, तो revaluation को you would remove. ठीक है? So no revaluation का impact. If any goodwill, any other non-tangible asset or intangible asset is not acquired but self-generated, उसका cost would be nil. And along with that, if we have any asset जिसका 35 AD में we have taken complete deduction. 35 AD में capital expenditure का deduction मिलता है. So अगर 35 AD में आपने complete deduction ले लिया उनका value भी you will take it at nil. We'll do a question, do not worry. उसको calculate करके आपका आएगा net worth. Net worth को आपको full value of consideration में से minus करना है, you will get capital gain. Capital gain would be long term or short term. So interestingly, students, indexation नहीं लगेगा. Even if it's a long term capital asset, no indexation would be there. ठीक है? Simply net worth को you will reduce. Clear? किसी को कोई doubt? we'll do a question, it will be more better. Now यहाँ पे मैंने 70 पे एक स्टार लगाया था, that full value of consideration जो भी मुझे मिल रहा है, but it should not be less than my fair market value of all the capital assets which are transferred. If the fair market value of the capital assets are more, then fair market value would be my full value of consideration. This is a recent thing which is included, which you need to take care of. Now let's do a question from it. Please on the screen. Okay, Mr. A is a proprietor of Akash Enterprises having 2 units. He transferred on 1st April 21 his unit 1 by slump sale. आपको कैसे पता चलेगा slump sale है? When of all the assets and liability, one consideration is already given. ठीक है? For 25 lakhs. The fair market value of the unit was 30 lakhs. Unit 1 was started in the year 2005-06. Expenses incurred for the transfer were 28,000. Okay, so abhi tak what all information we have provided is sorry, 1 second. Yeah. So what all information has been provided to us? One is my full value of consideration. Full value of consideration क्या होगा? Whether it would be 25 lakhs or 30 lakhs, which is the fair market value, 30 lakhs. I just told you that full value of consideration deemed value क्या हो जाएगा? Fair market value. Fair market value is more than my actual consideration. ठीक है? So full value of consideration is 30 lakhs less transfer expenses, which is there of 28,000. Now, this is 29.72, or you can say 29,72,000. Now we need to calculate the cost of acquisition. Cost of acquisition is what? Net worth. Net worth. Unit 1 sell हुआ है. This is my unit 1 things. Okay. Building 2 lakhs. Machinery 1 lakh. Sorry. This is unit 1. Unit 1 में building was 12 lakh, machinery 3 lakhs, debtors 1 lakh, okay. Other assets 1,50,000. उसके बाद we have revaluation reserve for building of unit 1, which is 3 lakh. Bank loan 70% for unit 1 and trade creditors 25% of unit 1. Okay, so bank loan 20 lakhs का 70%, 1,40,000 and 1,50,000, which is creditor, उसका 25%, which is 37,500. Right? Now let's calculate our assets. यहाँ पे कुछ information भी दिया हुआ है. The valuation reserve is created by revising upward the value of building of unit 1. ठीक है, we will reduce it. No individual of any asset is considered in the transfer deed. Okay, individual value नहीं दिया हुआ. Other assets of unit 1 includes patent acquired on 1st of, this is interesting, on 1st of July 2019 for 50,000, on which no depreciation has been charged. On which no depreciation has been charged. So let's do it. सबसे पहले 12 lakhs में से I will reduce my 3 lakhs का revaluation reserve. How much value I will take? 9 lakh. ठीक है. Machinery, I'll assume it is at written down value. I will take 3 lakhs. So 9 plus 3, 12. Debtors complete 1 lakh. Other assets में there is some confusion, adjustment दिया हुआ है. Other assets में से 50,000 तो हटा देते हैं पेटेंट का. बचा कितना? 1 lakh. So 1 lakh of other assets. ठीक है. अब इस 50,000 पे क्या हुआ? They have acquired patent, जिस पे they have not charged depreciation. Now patent is a depreciable asset, and we need to take depreciable assets at रिटन डाउन वैल्यू, सो 50,000 को पहले हम रिटन डाउन वैल्यू पे लेके आएंगे एज ऑन 1st April 21. 50,000 का रिटन डाउन वैल्यू कंप्यूट करो, कितने साल का डेप्रिसिएशन लगेगा? 25% के अकॉर्डिंग for 1920 and for 2021. So you will get a value of 28,125, which is my written down value of this 50,000 per patent. Okay, so 9 lakhs plus 3 lakhs plus 1 lakh plus 1 lakh plus 28,125 minus 140 minus 37,500. What is the answer coming? So now my capital gain is 30 lakhs minus 28,000 minus 12 lakh 50,625, which comes to 1,721,375. This is long term or short term? This is long term. Why? Because the undertaking is held for more than 36 months. Now, I think slump sale का question is the easiest to do. आपको कुछ इसमें कुछ नहीं indexation करना, कुछ नहीं करना, but you have to be attentive about the adjustments. Simple. Now you will not present the answer like this in your paper. You will simply write आपका body में उन्होंने capital gain पूछा, compute the capital gain. Your body should be only this much. How do you have to write the answer? Only about the computation part. You do not have to show in your body of answer, main answer, how did you come to this, how did you come to this, why you have calculated 30 lakhs. Everything should be part of your working notes. Why are you taking 30 lakhs as a full market value, full fair value consideration or full value of consideration? You will write it in your working notes. Then how this net worth is computed, you will make it part of your working notes. How this 28,125, which came as the amount of patents, you will write it in your working notes. Do not self-assume anything. Why you are taking it as a long-term capital asset? Again, part of working notes. See, institute में के module में जितना questions कैसे solve किया हुआ है, even if you do it of 90% of the same, you will get complete marks. अब paper में क्या होता है? You do only this much. इसी में ही यहाँ पे hodgepodge करके you show this, and we assume that why we are not getting the marks. ठीक है? So you can easily get the marks in slump sale वाला question. Does anyone has any problem up till now? I'll definitely do it right now. I'll do Sandhya, no problem. ₹1460 क्यों आया रुपेश? Sundar, I will answer your question, but this is part of your depreciation concept. I'll answer, don't worry. No, full value यहाँ पे stamp duty value नहीं, with fair market value of the entire assets. यहाँ पे I'm very glad that you're assuming the concept of stamp duty value when we're talking about land and building, but no, here only your fair market value of the asset has to be considered. मुस्कान, वेयर इज द प्रॉब्लम, एक बार बताओ. Okay, so I have few queries to answer. Patent wala point, okay. No worries, no problem, Sandhya. Not an issue. Okay. So Shubham on the patent point and one time for the summary. Everyone on the screen, when a question comes of slump sale, your first focus should be to calculate the full value of consideration. Full value of consideration would be the actual consideration. But if the fair market value of the unit is given to you, you have to take the fair market value. Okay? Because if it is higher, if the fair market value would be your deemed fair, full value of consideration, then you will reduce transfer expenses. Next step is to come to the cost of acquisition. Cost of acquisition is equal to net worth. How do we compute net worth? Depreciable assets ka we take WDV, other assets ka we take book value. Okay? But we will not take revaluation ka impact. Hence, building के लिए हमने revaluation impact हटा दिया. मुस्कान, this is for you. Machinery में I'm assuming the book value is the written down value. Debtors का written down book value. Other assets का भी I would have taken book value, but यहाँ पे एक adjustment दिया हुआ है कि इसमें patent included है 50,000 के, जिसपे depreciation charge नहीं किया. Patent has been included of 50,000 on which depreciation is not charged. But depreciable assets का हमें क्या करना है? Written down value लेना है. तो इस 1,50,000 में से पहले मैंने 1 लाख को सेपरेट किया, उसको तो as it is I have added in my net worth का calculation. 50,000 पे, which is my patent, I computed depreciation at the rate of 25%. Depreciation का rate कभी भी question में would not be given. You have to remember on intangible assets the depreciation rate is 25%. So 50,000 पे 25% depreciation compute here. I have acquired it when in 1st July 2019. So 1920 का and 2021 का. So written down value on 1st April 21 would be, which is your this 28,125. ठीक है, उसको भी I added and then I reduced creditors from it to get the net worth. And once the net worth is there, this is my cost of acquisition. I will reduce it from my full value of consideration and I will get long-term or short-term capital gain depending upon the time when the undertaking as a whole is held. आपको question में confuse करने के लिए दिया होगा that machinery was just acquired or building was just acquired. It is not even 1 year old, but you do not have to get confused. You have to see the time period for the entire undertaking. ठीक है, मुस्कान, is it clear? Shadra, is it clear? Pooja, is it clear why 25% depreciation? ज्योति, दिस इज डेप्रिसिएशन का पार्ट पीजीबीपी में आपको सिखाया होगा दैट यू कैलकुलेट फुल ईयर का डेप्रिसिएशन इफ द एसेट इज एक्वायर्ड, if the asset is put to use for a period of 180 days or more. If the asset is not put to use for a period of 180 days or more, you take the rate at half. Even if it is used for 1 day, still the rate would be half. मुस्कान, is it clear? हुआ? शुभम, पेटेंट वाला पॉइंट क्लियर हो गया? अदर इन्फॉर्मेशन में सेकेंड पॉइंट का मतलब है कि नो इंडिविजुअल वैल्यू ऑफ एनी एसेट इज कंसिडर्ड इन द ट्रांसफर डीड। वो कह रहे हैं कि दिस 25 लाख जो उन्होंने कंसिडरेशन निकाला फॉर दिस होल यूनिट, उसमें इंडिविजुअल वैल्यू कंसिडर नहीं किया। इट्स अ मीनिंग दैट दिस इज अ प्रॉपर स्लम सेल का क्वेश्चन। ओके, इट इम्प्लाइज दैट इट इज प्रॉपर स्लम सेल का क्वेश्चन। Okay. Then we had one question from Sundhya in the previous illustration 9. Let's quickly move to illustration 9. Illustration 9 is on page number 4.392. Okay, everyone on page 4.392. Singhania and Company of Sole Proprietorship owns 6 machines put in use of business in March 2020. Okay, the depreciation on these machines is charged at 15%. The opening balance of these machines after providing depreciation for previous year 2021 was 8,50,000. 3 of the old machines were sold. Now यहाँ से we have to start our purpose. Okay, हमारे पास WDV as on 1st April 21 is 8,50,000. ठीक है, interesting. ठीक है, nice. 3 of the old machines were sold on 10th June for 11 lakh. A second-hand plant was bought for 8,50,000 on 30th November 2021. ठीक है, interesting. Determine the claim of depreciation for assessment year 22-23. Compute the capital gain liable to tax. Okay, for assessment year 22-23. If Singhania had company sold this, okay, interesting. Now, part of the block of asset का question है. WDV as of 1st April 2021 is 8,50,000. Correct? Yes. Add additions. Addition कितने का हुआ? 8,50,000. Sale कितने का हुआ? 11 lakh का. Part of the block है, right? How much value is left? 6 lakhs. Correct? 6 lakh is left. Full value of consideration is less than my WDV plus additions, right? So 6 lakhs पे I'll calculate depreciation. 6 lakhs पे I'll calculate depreciation. अब 6 lakhs पे क्यों? How will I calculate depreciation? What rate I have to take is what I have to see. उन्होंने बोला कि सारा का सारा old machinery they have sold, correct? अब यानी जो बचा है ब्लॉक में वो न्यू मशीन भी बचा है, right? Even if uska value was 850, but since full value of consideration is adjusted bit from this, but the machinery which is left is only the new one. New one हमने कब acquire किया? 30th November को. 30th November को. If any machinery which is put to use for less than 180 days, उस पे we charge depreciation at the rate which is half of the depreciation rate. So 6 lakh पे. But this is part of your TGBP. 6 lakh पे 15% into half. How much I will get? 6 lakh पे 7.5 कर लो या 15% to half कर लो. Whatever way you write it is 45,000. ठीक है? And hence my written down value as on my closing written down value would be 6 lakhs minus 45,000. 5,55,000. ठीक है, क्लियर? कंप्यूट द कैपिटल गेन हम लिखेंगे. कैपिटल गेन कब होता है? जब पार्ट ऑफ ब्लॉक ऑफ एसेट पे जो आपको समझाया. इफ द पार्ट ऑफ ब्लॉक ऑफ एसेट इज सोल्ड, if full value of consideration is more than this, there would be capital gain. If full value of consideration is less than this, there would be no capital gain. On the value you have to charge the depreciation. Since the full value of consideration is less than this, Hence, if charge the depreciation, there would be no capital gain. But next part, when they're saying, what if the value, these three machineries were sold for a price of 21 lakhs. So 1st April 21 में opening value was 8,50,000, right? Plus addition 8,50,000, which come to 17 lakhs. But this is sold for 21 lakhs. Even if there is a block of asset, even if the block does not cease to exist, but you will not charge depreciation going forward, and this 4 lakh would be your short-term capital gain. Sundhya, now if there is any doubt, please let me know. And others also, if there is any doubt, please revise your एक बारी depreciation का concept to understand this properly. Got it? Slump sale clear? Okay. Students, one thing यहाँ पे एक second. Pradeep, this is how do you calculate depreciation में? Depreciation में it happens in the same manner. Depreciation जब भी calculate करते हो, if you have seen this under section 32, this is not capital gain का part. Section 32 में अगर आपने depreciation calculate किया होगा, first you make all the additions, then you remove the transfer, and then जो value आता है, that is my depreciable value. उस पे you calculate it. Even if the other machinery is purchased at a later date and one machinery is sold at a earlier date, the capital gain happens at the depreciation happens at the end of the year. No problem. Take your moment. Okay, so Pooja Dayaram, a very valid question. Fair market value को always, everyone on the screen, I told you जब fair market value ज़्यादा होगा तब you have to take the full deemed full value of consideration as the fair market value. Here in slump sale, always and always, even if the actual consideration is more or less, does not matter. Always take your fair market value of the unit which is given as your full value of consideration, even if it is less or higher. Okay, so once and for all, let's close this point here that fair market value will always be taken as my full value of consideration, even if it is less than the actual consideration, then also. Okay? I'm so sorry, Sandhya. So I hope it is clear. Okay? When you do trade creditors, Baba, trade creditors का 1,50,000 minus 50 minus 2815 क्यों कर रहे हो? वहाँ पे clearly given है शुभम कि trade creditors जो question में दिया हुआ है आपको 1,50,000 उसका 25% is for unit 1. तो डायरेक्टली 1,50,000 का 25% कर दो ना. Interesting, additional depreciation charge करना होता new machine required पे if it would have been given in the question that this sorry, that this asset which we are talking about is it has a factory, but यहाँ पे question में सिर्फ एक proprietorship दिया हुआ है who is using it for the business. अगर कुछ manufacturing से related information दिया होता घर पे, then definitely you would have applied additional depreciation also. Mudassir, we just calculated the depreciation for assessment year 20 to 23 only. इस क्वेश्चन में जो 6 लाख पे 45,000 निकाला, राइट हैंड साइड पे जो 6 लाख पे 45,000 निकाला, दैट इज ऑन द डेप्रिसिएशन पार्ट. किसी को कोई डाउट? No. Sandhya, net worth cannot be calculated by adding share, capital reserve. No. Section 50B has clearly written that this is how you have to calculate your net worth. आप accounts के concept नहीं लगाओगे income tax में until unless otherwise specified. Okay, so please apply your net worth taking the method which is given in the income tax. इनकम टैक्स में हर एक चीज का मेथड दिया हुआ, इवन इफ इट इज एज्यूम, उनके लिए रूल्स आते हैं, सब कुछ आते हैं. सो गो एज पर दैट ओनली. ठीक है, नो शॉर्टकट्स, नथिंग. मुदासिर, इज इट क्लियर? सबके क्वेश्चन आई थिंक सॉर्ट हो गए. अगर कुछ रह जाएगा प्लीज पिंग मी, विल डू इट इमीडिएटली आफ्टर we close this topic. Okay, so now two topics coming your way. One is section 50C, another is section 51. C. How many of you remember section 43CA, which is told in your PGBP wala income? How many of you remember section 43CA, which is told in PGBP? किसी को याद है? Okay, so no problem. Section 43CA is what section 43CA is for PGBP income. Same is for section 50C for capital gain. This section is deemed full value of consideration. Please listen to this section carefully. In case of land and building, यहाँ पे land and building का ही बात हो रहा है. Only land or building or both. Okay. Now, what is this section? Now, I always told you the importance of stamp duty value. Stamp duty value बहुत important है. Why it is important? The government says that okay, कोई भी person can show actual consideration at whatever amount he wishes to show, right? ठीक है, but actually में उसका price में जो circle rate से कम है वो नहीं show करेगा. People do black money transaction and all those things. So to curb them, they said your full value of consideration cannot be less than the stamp duty value. If it is less than the stamp duty value, then your stamp duty value would be your deemed full value of consideration. Okay? So your stamp duty value would be deemed full value of consideration if it is less than your full actual consideration. Okay. बट यहाँ पे कुछ genuine hardships हो सकती है. Always it may not happen that we are showing actual consideration less because we want to save tax or something. No, कुछ genuine hardship हो सकती है. अब suppose करो COVID maybe the asset was not, my building was not selling out and I was in an immediate fund need. So I sold it at a price lower than the stamp duty value, thoda sa lower. Or if I had to sell any asset, my land, because of emergency, and emergency में मुझे कम पैसा मिल रहा था, but I had an emergency, I sold it. कुछ genuine hardship हो सकती है, right? So government say, okay, we'll give a range of 10%, a range of 10%. We will give you a range of 10% that if my stamp duty value is within 110% of actual consideration, then we will take actual consideration as your deemed full value of consideration. Otherwise, we will take stamp duty value. Ma'am, example, so they are giving you a relaxation of 10%. If my actual consideration is 100 lakhs and my stamp duty value is 105 lakhs. मैंने आपको क्या बोला था कि stamp duty value should be your actual full value of consideration if actual consideration is less than stamp duty value, right? But with this 10% का limit, 10% का एक cooling limit है, not cooling limit, एक relaxation range है, that okay, exact stamp duty value will never match. It can be 10% up down. So fine. If my actual consideration is within this 10%, or my stamp duty value is within 10%, then we will take actual consideration only. अब 100 lakh का 10% कितना होता है? 110 lakhs. ठीक है? So my stamp duty value is falling in between. क्योंकि 10 लाख तक तो कम मैं बेच सकती हूँ, right? So within this limit, my stamp duty value is falling, then I will ignore my stamp duty value. If the stamp duty value is more than 110% of actual consideration, I will take my stamp duty value as my full value of consideration. Example, अगर my, sorry, if actual consideration is 100 lakhs, stamp duty value is 120 lakhs. It is crossing the 10% wala limit, right? So I will take stamp duty value as my full value of consideration. If stamp duty value is 107 lakhs, I will take actual consideration as my full value of consideration. The moment stamp duty value is more than 110%, is more than 110% of the actual consideration, then only stamp duty value has to be taken. Okay. Now next question will come, which this section arises, when stamp duty value has to be taken. As of stamp duty value of which date has to be taken. There can be multiple dates involved in a transaction. One date where we actually agree when the agreement happens. Another date is the registration date, which is the transfer date, right? We made an agreement today that we will, there would be a transfer of the house, but registration happened after a few days or few months, or maybe after a very later day. Sometimes this commonly happens when people reside abroad. Agreement हो जाता है, सारा transaction complete हो जाता है, but when they come to India only then the registration happens, right? This can happen, and stamp duty value though not very frequently changes, but it does change it. तो कौन सा आपको stamp duty value लेना है? Agreement वाले date का या registration वाले date का? Stamp duty value कौन से दिन का लेना है? You will say, मैम registry तब हो रहा था, मैं इसी दिन का लेंगी. No. You will take stamp duty value on date of agreement if agreement से पहले or on agreement date. If on the agreement date or before the agreement date, you have received either a part of consideration, number one, आपको you have received any part of consideration. It can be as nominal as some thousands. Okay, if you have received a part of consideration and that is in a mode other than your cash mode, or we can say that is in a mode of account paid check, account paid bank draft, ECS, electronic clearing modes like UPI, credit card, RTGS, UPI, RTGS, NEFT, IMPS, net banking, debit card, all of these things. अगर डेट ऑफ अग्रीमेंट से पहले और ऑन दैट डेट you have received any consideration, in a mode of account pay check, account pay bank draft, account pay check, account pay DD, your electronic clearing system, or NEFT, IMPS, UPIs, all of these things. If you have received it through that mode, then stamp duty value on date of agreement. Otherwise, stamp duty value on date of registration. ठीक है? अदरवाइज स्टैम्प ड्यूटी वैल्यू ऑन डेट ऑफ रजिस्ट्रेशन. फिर पहले स्टैम्प ड्यूटी वैल्यू उठा लिया, फिर उसको एक्चुअल कंसिडरेशन के 110% से कंपेयर किया. इफ इट इज लेस देन 110%, then actual consideration would be full value of consideration. If it is more than 110%, then stamp duty value would be the full value of consideration. But which stamp duty value has to be taken? Date of agreement or date of registration, that is clear. Right now, एक प्रॉब्लम आता है. क्या होता है? You say कि मैम there was a very genuine hardship और stamp duty value is extremely high. The property rate had fallen down and I had to sell it at an immediate basis. So I think this stamp duty value को अगर आप लोगे, it would be unfair. So you go to your assessing officer and you say that stamp duty value को consider करना would be unfair. Assessing officer said, okay, I may think on your option. And what did they do? He called a valuation officer. Who is valuation officer? Valuation officers कौन होते हैं? Basically, they are the person who are unauthorized valuers who actually value the property considering all the factors. ठीक है? He said that the SSC he said that the SSC is saying that the stamp duty value is high. I think you should value the property. This is on the option of the assessing officer. A valuation officer ने property का value determine किया. So will that become my full value of consideration? The answer is no. We have to see it on situation to situation basis. Let me take you for an example. My actual consideration was 100 lakhs. Stamp duty value was coming to 130 lakhs. So you will say that 130 lakhs would be full value of consideration. But our valuation officer के पास गए, valuation officer determined the value at 120 lakhs. So he determined the value which is less than the stamp duty value. Hence now 120 lakhs would be my full value of consideration. Clear? But what if the valuation officer had determined a greater value? What if the valuation officer had determined the value at 150 lakhs? फिर क्या करो? Will 150 lakhs would be my full value consideration? The answer is no. Then it would be 130 lakhs only. Then it would stay to 130 lakhs only. ठीक है? So can I conclude that if the valuation officer का value is more than the stamp duty value, then stamp duty value would be full value of consideration. If valuation officer का value is less than the stamp duty value, then valuation officer का value would be full value of consideration. So valuation officer का weightage तभी दिया जाएगा when it is less than stamp duty value. Clear? पक्का से? Ramakrishna, in that case, you have to go to valuation officer. No, 50C will not apply to slump sale. Because slump sale में हमें किसी asset का single consideration नहीं पता, and 50C is only for land and building. इसलिए ठीक है? 50C clear? Just one more chota sa concept before we go towards the end of the class. We'll not do 51, don't worry. 50 CA एक और section है, which is for unquoted shares. They say unquoted shares में fair market value would be the deemed full value of consideration, but it will happen very less in your paper that an unquoted share वाला question come. And एक general section है 50D, other capital asset. अगर आप किसी capital asset का, if you cannot determine the full value of consideration of any capital asset, then in that case you determine it as per taking the fair market value on date of transfer. This is very general section, very simple section, very less the question comes, but 50C students is very, very, very important. So 50C and 43CA, both of them are exactly same, but 43CA applies for land and building when you are into dealing you are a real estate developer and building is a stock and trade. But 50C happens when building is your capital asset. Absolutely similar sections, both of them. इसमें 20% वाला प्रोविजन नहीं है रफीक, एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. और उसमें भी 20% वाला प्रोविजन इज फॉर अ वेरी लिमिटेड पीरियड. Unquoted share. Sorry, Amalgamation 50CA is for unquoted shares. Please can everyone note the homework. All the illustrations up till page number 4.402 have to be covered. Then your illustration, question number 7 as homework. Question 6 you can drop. Question 5 you can drop. Question 1. Question 1 and then question 1 आप liability निकालने तक छोड़ सकते हो, but हाँ otherwise you can do it. Question 1, question 2, question 3, question 4. So except question 5 and 6, you can do all the questions. Okay? So this is your homework. Please do it. Otherwise, the concepts you think that you might have understood, but it will not get retained. Okay? अब कोटेड शेयर्स का मतलब बताया है अमलगामेशन. उसमें अनकोटेड शेयर्स वो होंगे जो कोटेड शेयर्स नहीं होंगे. ठीक है. नर्वस पीरियड रुपी डिनोमिनेटेड बॉन्ड्स होते हैं, which बेसिकली अगर कोई इंडिया का इंस्ट्रूमेंट बाहर ट्रेड होता है एज अ बॉन्ड, दैट इज रुपी डिनोमिनेटेड बॉन्ड. अगर कोई बाहर का इशूअर का इंडिया में ट्रेड होता है, दीज आर जनरली ग्लोबल डिपॉजिटरी बॉन्ड्स और एडीआरस. Again, I will ask you to focus on the base. Before we wrap the class today, base is to understand the. See, at your level, I will also not expect कि बिना technical actually समझे आप सब कुछ एकदम से retain करो. But I can give you that trust that when you will do a capital gain again, it would be a much easier exercise. Then when you will do it for the third time, probably you will be explaining the concept to everyone else. But again, absorb it slowly. That's why we chewed it slowly so that it could be digested accordingly. Again, I will be saying अपना concepts clear रखो in the terms of what is capital asset, what is short term, long term, what is transfer, especially do section 45 के exceptions which we did the other day. उसमें ULIPs are not applicable to you. It is just for you to understand. ULIPs वाला part do not do. Okay. Then please do your section 48 very particularly section 50, 55, all of these 50C, 50B. Extremely important. Section 47, 49. Ab section 49 ko if you will study, you and section 47 ko you will study, and period of holding wala section ko you will study, you will see the difference of what you did it in the previous class and today. And that is for sure, because now you know the meaning of them. Okay, I'm telling you, people at final level also do not get a clarity of section 47, 49, which to apply and how to apply, what all these section means. So it is okay if you are understanding it but not retaining it. But if you're understanding it, that is important. Read it again, definitely you will be there. Okay, so next class would be all about exemptions and computation of capital gain. But before that, I want you to do your theory part strong, your practice questions strong, and I want you to ask questions at the beginning of the class if there is any doubt. Okay, so see you on Wednesday, whereby we'll be completing our entire, not trying, we have to complete our entire capital gain. Isme section 46 wala and right shares wala, 46 and buyback wala, 46A would also be done. Usko hum thoda other sources ke saath match karenge. Okay, so do not worry. Anything else? So great. We'll have you leave, Abhi, and we'll meet you in the next class. Thank you. Thank you, sir.